Welcome to Parent Coaches Unleashed, the podcast where we dive into the highs, lows, and did that really just happen moment of parenting teens and young adults. We're Carrie and Jessica, parent coaches, mythbusters, and occasional referees in the battle of hormones versus common sense.
If you've ever wondered, is this just happening to me? You're not alone. We're here to help you with real talk, expert advice, and hopefully a few laughs along the way. Need more support? We also offer private coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements because sometimes even parents don't have all the answers.
So continue listening as we tackle this parenting journey together.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed. Hi, Carrie.
Good morning. How are you?
How are you today?
I am great. I am coming from Asheville, North Carolina today.
Oh, I bet it's a lot cooler there than in South Florida.
You know what? It is, but they've had a lot of rain lately. My
okay.
brother keeps saying,
Okay.
welcome to the rain. I feel like I'm in Florida, actually.
Well, we've had hardly any so far. So, let's jump in because I'm really super excited about today's guest. As Carrie and I so often discuss, we really try to bring you guys relevant and current information. And I know that I'm living through this now. Today's guest is Peri Ginsberg. She comes to us. Her company is Workforce Ready Now, and she specializes in coaching college-age students and young adults, helping them find internships and jobs, and really coaching them through the whole job search process. Did I say that right, Peri?
You did. You did.
Welcome. We're so happy to have you with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate both of you for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to getting into this topic that many of us, including myself, are experiencing real time.
I'm just going to jump right in. Something that jumped out at me from your cover page is your list of qualifications, and I found the funniest one where you wrote unlicensed family therapist. So, is this a family journey, or are you only working with the young adults?
Well, I guess to qualify everything I'm going to say, one size doesn't fit all.
Okay.
But very often, maybe more often than not, it's definitely a family affair. And I would say that 70% of the time I'm contacted directly by a parent who is concerned about their child's job search or what they perceive as lack of job search. And they've got goals and expectations set for their child that they don't feel the child shares or is acting upon. So it is a family affair. There is a balancing act that I have to perform. But I do believe at the end of the day, the student or the recent graduate, they are my client. So my focus is really supporting them, helping them build the confidence they need. But I do put a lot of effort into ensuring the parents that we're on a track that they can get on board.
And how often are you in contact with the parents? Or I'm sure it's not the same for every client, but do you have some parents that are wanting to meet with you as regularly as you meet with their child?
Yes. That is not the norm.
Okay.
I would say the norm, and I'm proud to say this, has been the parent will reach out to me, make an introduction, tell me a little bit about what their concerns are. My next step always is, okay, great. I got some basic understanding. Can you please make an introduction for me to your child? And I tell them, send a text. They like to be texted.
Right.
Send a text, introduce the two of us, and let me take over. So I then schedule a meeting with we're going to call them a student. It could be a graduate, but let's just say student. I set a meeting up with the student, 15-minute virtual chat. Tell me about yourself. I want to get to know you, and equally important, I want you to get to know me.
Sure.
I want to be able to tell you how I think I could support you and your search. and they have to buy in. If they don't click with me, if they don't buy into how my methodology, rolls out, then it's not going to be a strong partnership. As much as mom and dad want it to happen, they generally like me. The student needs to be on board with what's happening.
Sure.
So once the student and I have spoken and we have agreed on how they want this to unfold, I then write up a statement of work and I get the parent involved. At that point, more often than not, parent backs off as long as they're seeing results.
Hmm.
But I do have a couple of parents that would like minutely updates. I have parents that text me when they know I am having a call with their child to remind me to ask them to get a haircut or
No.
to,
Really?
yeah, yes. Well, I mean, you probably know because I think you mentioned you're in this phase also. When our kids need to find a job, or so we believe they need to find a job, I'm walking on eggshells a little bit. They're very defensive. They're not overly open to our suggestions, advice, guidance, control. And many of the parents, when they're reaching out to me, they're at that point where their relationship now is at risk
Hmm.
or it's struggling because their expectations aren't aligned. So they can't ask questions of their kid without getting their head bitten off. So I become the middleman.
Right. So I feel like that's not very different than college applications also and hiring a college counselor to
100%. I did.
save
I
your
mean, I had
relationship.
my oldest, who currently is in just started this week her second year of law school.
Okay.
When we did college applications, she was a very academic kid. I knew she was going to get into college, and
Mhm.
and I also knew that if I put the time into it, I could do the research necessary to figure out what were the best programs to help guide her.
Right.
But there would have been bloodshed. So instead, I spent a lot of money to hire someone who was definitely an expert, but I hired a lot of money just to save our relationship. And it worked. It paid off.
I'm happy to hear that for you. So I have to say, and I noticed this. So my middle guy, he is an engineering major at UF, and this summer he was. It was the summer before his junior year, and my husband and I kept stressing to him, start looking for an internship, start looking for, trying to encourage him, giving him all of our contacts. This person said they might know somebody. Every time Cody had a phone call, my husband would tell him, don't forget, follow up with an email, make sure you thank them, or handwritten notes. And Cody would say, nobody does that anymore. And I feel like that's so prevalent. Like, is there that much of a divide between our generation and our kids' generation in terms of what the job search or interview process looks like now?
Okay. So I have a lot of opinions on that, so I'll keep it streamlined. First of
Okay.
all, there are massive differences on how this generation is conducting their search and their expectations on how we are. But sorry, Cody, you're wrong. The emails, the follow-ups, those things, they still exist. It may be a text in some cases, it may be a DM in some cases, but that follow-up has actually never been more important today uh, than now, because the competition is so much greater than what we had when we were
Okay.
first starting out. I liken his expression to this is true. My son, who was the non-sharer of things that were going on. He was in high school and he was a senior and he was going to his first homecoming. Very social kid, but wasn't really into the school activities. Decided he was going to go to homecoming. And I, of course, I'm on Facebook. I know what happens before homecoming. Everybody gets together at some house and or with a fancy pool in Boca Raton and we take pictures and so I say, "Oh, find out when this is happening." They don't do that anymore is the answer that I got. And I'm like, Facebook tells me otherwise because I'm seeing all of these homecoming pictures that people are taking. So they're wrong. It does still happen. They're just not doing it. But then we ask, why is the grad unemployment rate far greater than the average unemployment rate right now? And you start to look at, there were other factors as well, but it's also a lack of aggressiveness.
Mm.
And that's a lot of what I coach, is this term that is kind of my term now, is appropriately aggressive. That is not something stereotypically that this Gen Z community, this Gen Z generation is comfortable with. They hide behind a phone screen. That is
Right.
what they were given. So that aggressiveness, it doesn't feel comfortable to them. And that's unfortunately why they're struggling to make a name for themselves in the job force right now.
So, what would you say to parents? And I'm not targeting Jessica and Lonnie, but since she put that example out here. So, what
I'll let
would
you
you,
target us.
okay, your turn. What would you say to parents that know their child or sense their child is not being assertive enough or might be lacking some of the confidence to make themselves stand out or do some of these things that you're suggesting are critical in the job search? What would you say to those parents? Like, because they can't continue to remind, because all they're going to do is annoy and they're going to be ignored. So what does a parent do? Do they just let their kids figure it out? Or what else can parents do to help support without straining their relationship with their child?
Well, first they hire me.
Right. You were setting her up for that.
They hire me. That's
That
why I exist. Okay. But
planted that I was going to say exactly right into.
but outside of that, because that doesn't fit everybody's plan. Um, First of all, we all know, and you know what, we were this way as teenagers too, or young adults. We don't want to be told by our parents what to do, no matter how right they are, right? They're just unwilling to recognize that what the parent may be saying is useful. I could say the exact same thing the parent said 10 times, and they look at me like, oh, that's fabulous advice. Because I'm not mom. I'm not their mom.
Sure.
My kids think I'm an idiot. So there's me. But let's talk about the dynamic. I think one place, and I'm guilty of this too, is that we, our generation, we want to fix things. We want control. We want the outcome that we want. And we put it under the guise of, but we only want what's best for our kids. Yes, that is kind of true. But we also want it done our way and we want to control it.
Well, it's
And
our vision, not
it's
theirs. It's
it's
our vision
our
for them.
vision. Correct. So the first thing that I would recommend to a parent, and let's remind everybody, I'm an unlicensed family therapist. The first thing I say is, what these students need in general is a sounding board. First, you should go to your child and say, hey, this is kind of a scary time. It is for everybody starting out right now. There's a lot of unknown. You probably, I mean, you just left the comfort of college for most of you. This is unknown. What role would you like me to play?
I love that.
Would you, I mean, and, but just saying that and doing it are two different things. If you're going to say, let me be a sounding board, share with me the anxiety that you may be feeling, the frustration that you have no idea what you want to do and you have no passions whatsoever, and you were led to believe that you were going to graduate college and know everything. Share with me, but you got to keep the judgment to yourself. You got to keep it down. You got to listen, because you can't help them figure out this next path if you don't really understand the struggles and the challenges that they are facing. So that's the first thing I would do. But I'm also I'm gonna put a little asterisk. I do believe you got to let the student navigate this a little bit. Offer up as much support as they're willing to accept, but they've got to figure this out a little bit.
So
You
what does that
mu
look like? Just give us an example. So I made this connection, you should call this person, or give us an example of what you're talking about.
Okay. So first, I really hope this is one that I really want people to hear, is that students are coming out with some kind of expectation. I don't know if we did it, maybe we did, that the first job is the dream job and everything that comes after is based off of the success of this first job. And here is the truth, the fact. That is untrue. There is unnecessary pressure on these students that they think they have to get it right. There's no such thing as right. Any job, when you come out of school, is right. Because one, it's either going to teach you something new that, oh, I didn't know about this and this is pretty interesting. Or two, it's going to teach you, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And you know what? They're both equally valuable. In addition, most likely, most jobs are going to teach you how to work with a team. They're going to teach you how to deal with deadlines. They're going to introduce you to new systems. It may not be exactly what you thought you were going to do or exactly what you're going to do, but it's guaranteed to be giving you new skills that will be positioning you for whatever's next. And in 99.9% of the cases, there's going to be something next. A first job is only the first job. So that's the first thing a parent has to accept, and they have to communicate that to their kid to take the pressure off of them that, oh, but Joey's working with Goldman Sachs, and great, great for Joey. You're not Joey. So take that pressure off. It's not, that first job is not life or death. It isn't.
Right.
It's hopefully a paycheck.
Yep.
It's hopefully developing some skills that are going to make you more marketable for the future. And it's hopefully you getting some experience that either points you one way or maybe diverts you a different way. Okay. So I think as a parent, we need to help take that pressure off them. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to work. You have to work. And I believe what I'm doing, I have my youngest is graduating FSU in December. And we've
Congratulations.
already had this conversation about what our expectations are. Actively looking for work, actively looking for jobs, has some internships up at FSU. And we've already talked about how long we will continue to assist him until that job comes along. And if in that period of time you haven't secured something that you're excited or want to go forward with, there's nothing wrong with a part-time job as a waiter at Starbucks. That is not a negative. That is not bad. That is you being an adult, showing responsibility, and you have to make money. Now, we're still going to be here to support him because he's fortunate and we can help. But he has to show us his commitment too. I am working with some families that have students who haven't worked in over a year. And for no reason other than they haven't found exactly what it is that they want to do. That's not the way I choose to parent. I believe no matter what, you've got to make a paycheck and start taking on some responsibilities. And it doesn't matter what that looks like. I don't see somebody working at Starbucks as lesser than anybody else because you're gaining responsibilities. So these are the things that I think a parent should be focusing on.
I think that is such an important aspect to this whole process, is a conversation of your expectations for what you're willing to do for your child, for what you're not willing to do, setting boundaries, setting timelines, just so they know that they have a clear picture in their mind. And I really love what you're saying about taking a job to help, to support yourself, to earn money. Right.
I don't think somebody working at Goldman Sachs is a better human being than somebody who is a waiter at a restaurant.
Right.
They both at the end of the day have responsibilities. It's a paycheck. And the likelihood is neither of those jobs are forever.
Right.
It's a starting place. And even as that waiter, you are gaining such incredible
Absolutely.
customer service client skills that are transferable to anything that you're going to be applying to in the future. So it's not a negative. And I even heard parents say, my kid had to take a job at Tropical Smoothie. You should be proud of that your kid is getting up every morning, getting ready, showing up for work, being dependable, being responsible. I think that's fabulous.
Yeah, I think the part that parents are potentially missing, or they're supporting their child longer because, they want the dream job, like you said, but what they're missing is the lack of structure and the lack of independence and the lack of doing something productive. The longer they go on without that, their confidence level drops. So having any job that gets you out of the house to be somewhere on time and doing something productive pushes you further into independence, and then feeling good about yourself as that child, young adult. Like, if we all sat around for a year and a half just
Waiting.
passively
Mhm.
waiting, we would start to feel really bad about ourselves.
So I have to say, I just want to add, I know I started my conversation talking about Cody, but what ended up happening this summer is Cody reached out to a whole bunch of engineering firms and was not getting anywhere with them. Everyone said, "Oh, maybe next summer, or call me if you don't have anything," whatever it was. And we said to him, you still need a summer job. You still need to find something to do. And he did. He found a job as a food runner at a restaurant. And while he was working there, I feel like, Carrie, to your point, it took the pressure off of him of having to find something else. He really enjoyed the people skills, what he was learning. And then an engineering firm called him back and said, "We can offer you 2 days a week as an internship." And that was it. It worked out perfect because they were willing to work around his schedule, knowing that he had already taken something else, and it was the best of both worlds for him. But
It's
the
amazing.
pressure was taken off of him of having to find something.
And and I am working with students every day who are getting ready to graduate who feel like because I didn't have I have a lot of kids who couldn't couldn't go after the internships during the summer because they had to actually make real money because they're paying for their own education, right?
Yep.
And then they graduate and they're like, oh, we're at such a disadvantage because we didn't have these fancy internships because I worked at Amazon warehouse because they paid better, and I have to contribute financially to my education. To
Right.
I would hire that kid any day over the ones that had the structured internship because they understand the value of work. But the problem is they have been told you are lesser than because you didn't have the JP Morgan Chase internship. You and I don't know for a fact that companies look down on that person, but that person has to learn to be unapologetic for their background and to sell what the maturity and responsibility that they bring to the table. And so again, that's a lot of what I talk about. When I'm coaching somebody and they're like, "Oh, unfortunately," stop apologizing. You're most likely you're 22 years old. How much experience could you have gotten yet? Nobody expects you to come into a company right out of college and be the expert on anything. Harsh reality, you're not. You're not the expert on anything. But if you're intelligent and if you're curious and if you're coachable and adaptable and amenable, I want you on my team because I feel like I could mold you to be what I need on my team and in this organization. But these students are coming out thinking, oh, but you're not an expert in anything. Accept it and don't apologize for it.
So, in a world where so much of the Gen Z communication is through their phone, how do you coach a client to demonstrate those attributes on a job interview?
This is a big challenge, okay? Gen Z, I'm even going to loop the millennials closer to the Gen Xs and Gen X. Millennials, in my opinion, from the workplace place perspective, lean a little bit more Gen X than they do Gen Z, okay?
Okay.
And there's a major disconnect. Gen Z, first of all, is immediate. They're tech savvy. I mean, how many times have you guys had your children pull your phone out of your hands because you are not doing something quick enough for their liking, right? Happens to all of us. They're immediate. They're texting, they're DMing, they're one-liners, they're immediate. Millennials and definitely the Gen Xers, we're slower, we're more deliberate. We believe that you've got to put in your dues, right? That you gotta play the game to get somewhere. Gen Z are not game players. So there's a major disconnect. So there should be a conversation between the Gen X interviewer and the Gen Z interviewee about expectations. Now, the truth is, the company gets to set the expectations on what they expect from their people. The interviewer, my client, gets to decide, can I fit that? Does that work for me? Does that fit my balance? Because balance is all encompassing for me. Okay. I think I mentioned to Carrie, I had a student. I wouldn't have advised this. Maybe I'm wrong. I had a student go into an interview with her yoga schedule, and she let it be known that she had a yoga class on Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon, and that if they would like to hire her, they need to accommodate her yoga at Tuesday and Thursday at noon, because this is part of her mental health. And she finds balancing all of this incredibly important.
Wait
She
a second.
got the offer.
But okay, first of all, what type of firm was it? Are we talking like a big accounting firm, a law firm, a
It was a marketing
startup?
agent. It was a marketing agency.
Okay.
Okay, so do you okay, I have a
Could
couple
we
of questions about this.
Bring 'em
assume
on.
the culture of that organization was such to be more accepting than if it was a accounting firm or a private equity? Like, would it matter?
Yes. Now, I don't know the firm firsthand.
Okay.
I would definitely, hey, the fact that they said yes means that they accommodated. Do I think that was an everyday situation for them? Absolutely not, because she said the hiring manager laughed at her and said, wow, you've got chutzpah, was the exact words the hiring manager said to her.
Okay, now here's my question, because I actually had this conversation with two girlfriends. I feel like our generation would either say that is a sign of entitlement of their generation, of the Gen Zs. That is a sign of entitlement. Nobody wants to work anymore. Or why can't they just get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go to their yoga class? And I feel like our generation looks at their generation as they have no work ethic. They don't want to work. All they care about is their mental health, which I'm air quoting for those who are listening, because I feel that that's very important. But I said to my girlfriends, is it entitlement, or do they have a better sense of work-life balance and who they are and what their needs are? And automatically it was, nope, it's entitlement. They don't want to work. What do you
Okay.
think, or what do you see?
I have this conversation all the time, and
Okay.
I am evolving. I would say 5 years ago, I was the poster child for Gen X. Entitled, lazy, want things handed to them, no work ethic. I don't believe that anymore. I believe that they have watched us, I'm being very generic,
Yeah.
watched the paths that we've taken, listened to us complain at the dinner table about our jobs and about the decisions we're making and the stress we're under. And I think they have made the decision, I don't want that. That doesn't mean they don't want to work. but they want to redefine what does work look like. And I actually think it's kind of smart. Now, let me say, we Gen Xers and the millennials, we're still very much in the workforce. So this shift that they greatly desire is not going to happen overnight, right? Because we're going to resist it because that's not natural to us. That doesn't fit us. I think we have a lot to learn, and I think there should be a middle ground so that we can get the best of everybody. But we're not there yet. We're still decision makers, and we're still like, are you crazy? And here's one other quick story. I don't think I shared it earlier. I was a managing director of a recruitment firm during COVID. We all went remote for many months. It was time to start integrating back into office. So I communicated with my team who reported to me that this is the plan. This 24-year-old sweetheart replies back, I go to the gym twice a day. You know that. I love the gym. I go twice a day. I realize that's going to be a major risk for everybody in the office, so I'm going to stay at home. Wasn't a question. And I looked, I scrolled back up because this is a text conversation to make sure I didn't put a question mark when I said everybody's returning back to the office. I needed to make sure that I didn't pose it as, what do you think? And he flat out told me, sorry, out of concern for you and the fact that I have to go to the gym twice a day, not going to make it.
Right. So this is the communication piece is the issue. It's not the balance. It's not the desire. It's not their level of confidence. It's they're telling you rather than, and I'm coming from an HR perspective here as that was my career, but like asking, would this be a problem? Or how can we work this out?
Correct.
That's the part that seems to be missing in the communication between the generations. So, anyway.
100, and everything could be resolved by conversation. The
Right.
moral of that story,
Yeah.
my sweet 24-year-old returned to work. So, by the way, I wasn't the one who was given the yoga schedule and said, absolutely. But are they, again, he should have, in my opinion, he should have asked me, not told me. I don't think the outcome would have been any different because I was also working under the guides of higher ups, and it really wasn't up to me to decide who could be remote and who couldn't be remote. But I probably wouldn't be telling this story if he asked me. He wouldn't be an example of what we like to say, oh, they're so entitled. But it's all communication. And the fact is that these Gen Zs who we kind of roll our eyes at, they bring so much. They're so tech savvy. They're innovators. They bring so much skill that we don't have, that the workforce is missing out by not hearing them and trying to find the middle ground. It doesn't mean, hey, step back and let them decide everything for themselves because they should be happy at all times. When I was a manager, I used to have a team of like 50 people back in the day in corporate America. I had a big, big, big team. And something that I was taught, and I still learn from this, but I know so many people who don't follow this mentality. As a manager, it wasn't, in my opinion, the 50 reports of mine responsibility to figure out how I manage. I felt it was my responsibility as their manager to figure out what kind of leader did they need. Now, that wasn't because I was this wonderful altruistic and I want everybody happy and kumbaya. It was because in my mind, I'm thinking, if I manage them the way they need to be managed, I'm going to get the most out of them. They're going to be the most productive for me. If I force them to accommodate my rigidity, I'm probably not going to get much out of them. That's not very different right now, in my opinion, from Gen Z and Gen X. If the Gen Xers would just take the time to learn what tweaks, reasonable tweaks, we could make to maximize the productivity and what we get out of the Gen Zer, we would be in such a better place.
So is this something that you could recommend to a Gen Zer as they're looking for a role that obviously they do research on the company. But if there's a way for them to research, I'm not saying, right, we're not going to ask how old the person is that they're interviewing with. But if they can maybe get some background information on who the supervisor or manager is, that might help when they go in for the interview, understanding maybe where their communication needs to be. Now, is there something from the parents' perspective that we could do? Obviously, if they hired you, Perry, I'm assuming you would discuss that. That would be part of the planning and their interviewing skills and practicing. But what as parents could we possibly do to provide some insight here without telling them this is what you should do?
Well, here's what I coach. So if parents want to follow this, this is what I highly recommend. So if I have a student who has an interview with company XYZ and they know they're interviewing with this person, the first logical thing we do is we go onto LinkedIn and we see if we can find that profile and we look through that profile to exactly answer the questions that you're posing there. Get a sense of where he's coming from, what generations, perspectives he's probably going to bring to the conversation. I also have them looking at the LinkedIn profile because we're looking to see, is there any point of connection for the two of you? Did you go to the same school? Are you from the same town? Something, because
Right.
I can't, every conversation I have, they probably roll their eyes at me, is all about, it really doesn't matter what you're saying in an interview. It's a connection and an emotion, and are you building chemistry with that person? So look for something that you can, maybe you found something, maybe you don't, but get whatever history you can. Do a little Google search, go out to their website, see if there's anything additional about that person. Then this is the really, really, really important thing. Go back out to LinkedIn, go to that company's page, follow it, and start doing a search and trying to find some Gen Zers that work at the company
Hmm.
and message them and let them know that you have an interview coming up. Would they spare 5 minutes of time just to chat so that you can get a little bit more background on the company? So talk to people that have been in the role that you are going for, or people that joined the company in the past 1 or 2 years. Maybe see if there's an alumni that you have another connection. But talk to younger folks in the company and just have a conversation with them. What is the workplace like? If flexibility is your number one thing, I'm not here to tell you, well, that's ridiculous. If that is your number one thing, then do your homework to find out, is this a company that will work for you? But there is a ton of ways for you to get information and to make a name for yourself before you apply to the job and definitely before you join the interview.
I think that's a great piece of advice. Do you have an opinion on job fairs and how kids can make themselves stand out at a job fair?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they need to take advantage of. First of all, you do not go into a job fair cold. What do I mean by that? I don't mean put a sweater on. I mean, do your homework. Everything comes down to doing homework. I don't believe winging it is generally a strategy for any part of the job search. Not a big fan of winging it. Could happen. Some people get lucky. Not a big fan. First of all, almost every school that I'm aware of, when they have a job fair, they communicate with the students who will be at that company, who will be at that fair. Do your homework. Research the companies. Don't just look for the big, sexy ones. Don't just go to the ones that you know, because some of those smaller startup, think tank, entrepreneurial could offer you experience that would blow the other companies away. So do your homework. Go online. Go to their websites, read up who they are, go to their career page, see if they have jobs posting, look at the more entry level or internship related job postings if they exist. Read them, familiarize yourself, apply if there's something appropriate for you to apply to, because then you make a game plan and you say, okay, these are the 5 companies I want to make a point of meeting, right? Maybe you get more, but I know some of the bigger schools, you could wait an hour in line to speak to
Yeah.
somebody. Do it. Do your homework. Map out your plan. Don't go in there without a plan. I want to speak to these 5 companies. If you get more in, great. I want to speak to these 5 companies. I have notes in front of me of what I jotted down. Bringing in notes is not a negative. Interviewing and meeting people is not a memory test. So you bring in notes, it means that you prepared, you cared, this was important to you. So now you walk up to this company that you've done homework with. You're not an expert. You're not an expert in anything. You don't need to be, but you can say, hey, I was researching you yesterday. Already my light bulb goes on. Oh, this kid took the time to research us. I researched you and I see that you're working in this space. I'd love to learn more about it. In addition, I applied last night to this job that you have posted. Mention it, say it, and then ask, do you have any recommendations on what I can do to follow up and best position myself for that interview? Ask. I don't believe that interviewing or job searching should be treated like a poker hand. Don't keep it close to the vest. Show your excitement, show your energy, and show you cared enough to know who they were before you get to your spot in line.
I think that's great advice. I love that. What do you do with this? What do you do with your client that comes to you and says, I have absolutely no idea what I want to do. I know I graduated with this major in accounting, but I really don't like it. What do I do? How do I find a job?
I love those students. I enjoy it because they're honest. Like, so what do I do? Let's remind everybody I'm unlicensed. Okay. So I do believe a lot of what I'm doing when I have this type of situation is what I think is common sense, but it's not. It's probably just my lived experience. So, 1 second about me. I'm educated with a bachelor's and master's in engineering. I'm a civil and environmental engineer,
Okay.
right? Obvious, right? And I have changed and pivoted so many times. Each pivot was great. Each pivot prepared me for whatever was next in line. So I feel like I've had a lot of lived career experience and that it's okay to not know who you want to be when you grow up. Some of us are still asking ourselves
Yeah.
occasionally who we want to be.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So, first of all, I think I bring empathy. I understand that scenario really, really well. And what I personally do is I invest a lot of time building chemistry with this person and listening and talking and tell me your classes. Which class did you like? Why did you like it? What did you do? And I'm listening. And I'm listening for little things that I think, oh, they seem pretty excited when they talked about this social media campaign that they did, or they seemed really excited when they had to do an on-campus survey to determine whatever. I'm listening for this. And then I'm coming back to them and saying, hey, I know you're nervous and scared and you don't know what you want to do. And that's okay. What's not okay is not putting a foot forward and trying something. So I generally will come back to them 5 or 6 different paths to explore based on what I heard, what they're excited by, not based on their resume, because I could help position them for anything they want to do. I can take any skill they have and make it relevant to whatever it is. Because again, entry level to me, you're not an expert of anything. But if you're curious and coachable and adaptable, I can help open doors wherever you want within reason. I mean, if you need top security clearance, I probably can help. So I listen and then I say, hey, you don't have to decide right now. The only decision you have to make right now is be willing to explore. So let's go down these 3 paths. Let's cast a wide net, of which I do all of that with them. Let's cast a wide net. I coach them how to communicate the skills they already have, their soft skills, how to communicate it in a way that it's applicable to the field that we're going after so that they feel comfortable in an interview. And I tell them, that's the only choice you have to make right now. You don't have to decide, but what if this happens and what if that? That's not a problem that we have today. Don't create a problem that we don't have.
Right.
If we get to the point that you've got multiple options on the table and you have to make decisions, Fabulous. Let's
That's a
celebrate that
great
problem.
problem. Right. Hmm.
Right now, talk to anybody who's willing to talk to you because one, you need the experience. Two, it's who you know. Who knows who that person knows? Impress the right person. You don't know what doors could open for you. So I try to let them know what it's totally okay and natural to be 22 and not have any clue at all what you want to do. It's fine, but you still have to work. So let's come up with a game plan of things that doesn't make you feel a little queasy about doing and go from there.
I think that is awesome advice. I love it.
And I have a lot of really great and half the time I come back to them with something like, "Oh, I hadn't thought about that." Well, how could they? They're 22. They haven't had that
Right.
exposure. I'm not 22. I've had a little bit more exposure. So they're like, I don't even know what that is. Well, let's explore it. Let's do some research. Let's find someone who you can talk to about
Right.
it and find out firsthand. So that to me is the major gap between my upbringing and my generation and theirs. They don't realize the advantage they have and the wealth of information that's available to them and how easy it is to reach out to people and get information. And they're afraid to do it. Like, what would I even say to that person? People don't go onto LinkedIn and message each other. They don't do that. I'm like, well, that's exactly what they do. And it's exactly why that exists. And after they tell me that I'm wrong and they actually try it, they're like, guess what? The person responded. No, really? So,
Yep, it's stepping out of their comfort zone because they are scared. They have anxiety about what if I do it and what if someone gets back to me and then I don't know what to say or don't know what to do. So that's not how it happens, right? We get into defensive mode first, but
yeah, they're willing to ask for their yoga schedule to be accommodated, but asking for your talking to, can you share some insights about a career? And you don't do that. That's wrong.
and I bet if they took the time to actually ask 5 or 10 recent grads that maybe graduated a couple years before them, how did you get your job? That would probably be some of the answers. The ones that got the jobs were the ones that used all the tools and put themselves out there, like became
Hey,
masterminds with LinkedIn and networking and taking people's recommendations or their connections. Like that's the other part that I think some parents don't struggle with this, but the kids do. If the parents has connections, I know these 5 people. Sometimes the kids are like, "No, I'm going to do it all on my own. I don't want your help. I don't want your connections." Well, we all know that's how you get through the door is through your connection.
but we may have to let them do it
Yeah.
their way. You
Yeah.
can't force it, but you
Right.
can force a timeline by which at this point you need to go get anything that you can get and start contributing financially. So you can't force them to you can't force them to speak to someone that they don't want to speak to. You can recommend it, you could suggest it highly, but you can't force it to happen. But it doesn't mean that they have carte blanche that, they could sit back and wait for someone to come to the door to tell them how great they are and that they're worth $100,000. Um, we still get to set some rules
Do
or,
you know that I'm curious, do you notice that a lot with the clients you work with that they have a unreasonable expectation of how much money they should be earning?
uh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. I have a new grad right now, and I love her. She's a dream come true. She's like, and she just graduated undergrad, did great, beautiful, articulate, educated. I'd hire her in a heartbeat. She's like, you don't think I'm going to make $100,000? I'm like, let me answer that with a question. Why are you worth $100,000? She's like, just thought that was kind of where I should be aiming. Like, I'm never one who's going to say it absolutely can't happen. I'm not going to say that because when it does happen, I look dumb.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is not likely. And if that is your goal, I may fail to deliver on your goal. Yes, they have and you know what? Some of the parents have unreal expectations. I've had parents come to me and say, so-and-so's kid made $80,000 right out of school. Like, okay, but your kid isn't interviewing at the same place that that kid interviewed at. Your kid has a completely different background and resume than that kid did. And let's focus on your kid and
Right.
your kid's qualifications and interests and strengths and desires and not what your neighbor's son got.
All right. And here's the problem. Why do we even know that? Why do we even know what our next door neighbor's kid makes coming out of college? Like, why
Just
is that open communication amongst neighbors, friends, girlfriends, family, whoever it is? Why,
because
why do we,
we created it.
why?
We did it. I remember getting the phone calls from people who I wasn't close to ask me what my kid got on the SATs.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you asking me that? Why are you comparing your kid to my kid? Why do you think that's information I should share? So many whys. So we did it. We did it. We have set unrealistic expectations. And if in our mind we don't think our kid met it, we want to validate. Let's just check with everybody else. Or if we think our kid's great, we want to validate that too and make sure everybody else did slightly less so that we are reassured about how great our kid is. We did it. We're to blame for that. I don't know about you guys, but my parents didn't do that stuff.
No.
My parents didn't have any idea what anybody. I don't know. They knew what I was doing. Better yet, what anybody else was doing.
And it is possible the neighbor posted it on Facebook. So
It is possible and very not unlikely. But I mean, we cue helicopter sounds around us.
Right.
A lot of the problems that are happening right now, we create. We have chosen that they're not capable. We are not capable of backing off.
I think that in a lot of cases that is so true.
And we don't give them the benefit of the doubt to be able to figure this stuff out. So why should they?
Yeah.
Well, you said it earlier. We want to jump in and fix everything for them without giving them the opportunity to do it for themselves. And 99% of the time, they'd be able to. We don't give our kids enough credit.
I just started. I'm not proud of this because I'm bad too. I just started about 2 years ago that when one of the kids calls me from school, which they're always calling me, the daughter more than the son, and whatever they're asking me requires me to go onto Google and do some research and do something, I'm like, you have the same access to Google as I do. So whatever, you're not asking for parental advice. You're asking me to go do something because you don't want to do it. And I finally, about 2 years ago, when they ask something like that of me, I pause and I'm like, no, you can do that. I'm like, and, let me know what you find out if you need me for that. But it was
And how did they react to not you, but them? How did they react to that shift?
I get the sound. I get the sounds. Like, it's so annoying. I get all those things, but I'm okay with that.
They do it.
If they want it, if they want the information enough, they do it.
Right.
So it's little, but it was a shift. My daughter, I mentioned she's in law school. She was very confused. Her senior year in college, she was one of those, she got her degrees in English and journalism, which she loves, loves, loves. And just like I predicted when she started in English and journalism, I was like, what are you going to do with that? She then graduated with, I don't know what I'm going to do now, and was lost and confused and not overly in control by choice. She was sitting back just waiting, maybe because I always did it. So I had told her during her senior year, why don't you apply to law school as a plan B? Go apply to jobs. Find out what's out there. See what you want to do. She went to school in Boston. Sky's the limit. Go anywhere you want. Figure this out. Apply. I'm here. I'll support you. Go figure it out. But apply to law school too. Weigh your options. See come graduation, hopefully you have options, and then you do what you want to do. Well, come graduation, she got into all 6 law schools that she applied to. Go her. And 0 job offers because she applied to
0.
So she came home.
Her plan B became her plan A.
So she came home that summer and she was very anxiety ridden. I know she won't mind me saying this. It's true. She has a lot of anxiety, like many of us.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of Gen Zs. She's poster child. And was getting really upset about the thought of law school. Not that, oh my God, I'm going to hate law school, but just the change, the anxiety, the everything, to the point that she started getting sick over it. And so about 2 weeks before she left, it was a miserable summer. I said, no, you don't have to go. If you don't want to go to law school, don't go to law school. I'll lose the deposit. Who cares? It's not worth making yourself sick over. None of this matters. She goes, but I don't want to have to get a job. I'm like, oh. I said, get packing. You're going to law school. She just started her second year. She loves it. She's never been happier in her entire life. She's got a job in law already. Like,
That's awesome. Good for
we got
her.
lucky. We got lucky. And so my son, who is graduating in December, I've recommended the same approach. We're getting his LSAT scores next week. I recommended, hey, let's do some applications as a maybe, because the field that he wants to go into, sport management, anybody has any connections, he'd love to be a sport agent someday. And I'm like, having a degree would be great. Why don't you apply as a maybe? If something comes up and you don't need to go, wonderful, but you have it. It's for next year. Just see what your options are. Give yourself choices and don't create problems that don't exist yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that is a great piece of advice to wrap up on. If parents want to find you, how do they find you?
Probably the easiest thing to do is go to my website, which is www.workforcereadynow.com. On there is a link to set up a free consult. You just go it takes you right to my calendar to book it.
Perfect.
And I also have my ultimate interview playbook, which I love, 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 and I'm so proud of. That's available through the website as well.
Awesome.
All right.
Perry, thank you so much for being with us today. I know I really learned a lot, and I can't wait to call my son and share with him what I've learned. So thanks for
you.
being
I
with us.
appreciate being invited and both of your time today.
Thank you so much. And for listeners out there, if you know someone, a friend, a family member who might benefit from listening to this episode, please listen, like, and share with them. And thank you again for listening. We really appreciate you all.
Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Parent Coaches Unleashed with Carrie and Jessica. Together, we can raise the next generation of independent, capable, and compassionate young adults.
We encourage you to send us an email with questions and feedback to info@parentcoachesunleashed.com. Please remember, you are not alone on this parenting journey.